Hello, my name is Andy and I am the village idiot, and I'm on with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. It's very cold this morning in the city of Wakefield. If you want an idea of how cold it is, take a look at this pond. This is in a park called Featherstone Park, and the water, trust me, it may not look like it on the camera, but it's frozen. Probably not thick enough to ice skate on. I can't skate anyway, so I'd just be falling over all the time. But certainly I wouldn't recommend trying to step on that ice at the moment. It's certainly not thick enough, but it is very cold. The temperature was about -1 when I came here this morning, but it's a good thing. I've got about an hour's walk planned around the town of Featherstone. Featherstone is our penultimate civil parish in the city of Wakefield, 2 miles southwest of Pontefract. Historically part of the West Riding of Yorkshire, in 2011 it had a population of 15,244. It's a pretty complicated place to cover. This one has quite a lot of areas we need to go to. That's because the modern day settlement is wildly different to the one that started life in this part of West Yorkshire. The original village is now known as North Featherstone. A little later we'll be taking a look at that part of the parish, but our main walk today will focus on the much larger modern day Featherstone. This area, what is now known as Featherstone today, was originally called South Featherstone, growing up around the railway station and the village of Parish. In fact, the church here tells us something about how the town grew. In 1875 it was decreed everything south of the railway line be made into the parish of Parish/South Featherstone. These flats are called Jaglin Court, one example of a building bearing part of the Parish/Jaglin name. The church is St Thomas's, and we'll get to that in the amenities section. Despite most population growth taking place around the Industrial Revolution, Featherstone traces its history back much further than this. The Domesday Book records several settlements here, including Featherstone, which would become Featherstone, Prestone, which would become Parish, as in Parish/Jaglin, and Ardwick and Ossel, which would become Hardwick and Nostell. Like many place names in the area, Featherstone derives from Old English. The name is formed of two elements, feother, meaning four, and stan, meaning stone. Therefore, the name means the place at the 4 stones. These 4 stones are likely to have been some kind of waymarker or monument by a road or other well-used route through the town. It is thought that a local public house, the Traveller's Rest, seen here, can trace its origins back to the 17th century, whilst the former Jubilee Hotel, a listed building now converted to apartments, once provided a resting place for wealthy Victorians and their horses. There's also evidence of an ancient Druid grove here too. So this eastern area is called Parish/Jaglin because it's basically based around the old village of Parish, and this is where we find the first of probably a few town council notice boards. Now this is very icy. I can see ice on this, so I don't know whether this is going to stick, but we'll see. It may not, we'll see. No, it's not going to. I'll have to wedge it on somehow. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but yeah, I'll do my best. Like many surrounding areas, Featherstone grew around coal mining. This is nothing new. Coal has been mined at Featherstone since the 13th century. In 1848, the opening of the Wakefield, Pontefract and Goole railway line through Featherstone provided the basis for large-scale coal mining in the area, opening up new markets in the south of England and Europe. Featherstone Main Colliery was opened in 1866, followed by Acton Hall Colliery in 1873. These were closer to what is now the main part of Featherstone, which consequently expanded. Acton Hall Colliery was the first pit to close following the end of the miners' strike, and this could not be contested, as geological difficulties had made it impossible for the pit to continue production. Featherstone was the subject of a study named Coal is Our Life, by the sociologist Norman Dennis, published in 1956. The town would come to national attention during a lockout of mine workers in 1893 due to low coal prices and overproduction. This resulted in soldiers firing on a crowd who were demonstrating at the colliery gates. This would become known as the Featherstone Massacre. Featherstone village historically formed a township within the much larger ecclesiastical parish of Featherstone, which also included Preston-Jaglin, Whitwood and Acton. In 1974, the town became part of the metropolitan borough of Wakefield. Politically, Featherstone is part of the Hemsworth constituency. In the mid-1970s and early 1980s, the area went into sharp decline, and the residents' quality of life did too, thanks to the gradual loss of the coal industry coupled with poor housing and education. So all around the town centre there's plenty of these handy little signs telling you what's where. So the town hall, the library we've seen, War Memorial, Chesney's Resource Centre, there's that away, as is the railway station and Featherstone Rovers. Those are all things we're still yet to encounter. This has begun to improve in recent years with new housing developments, better schools and plans to breathe life back into the local business community via various climate-friendly projects. The Town Council organised the annual Town Gala, which brings the whole community together to enjoy what they describe as a tremendous event. The council also prepares a range of Christmas events which include a Christmas light switch on, Santa Day, a best dressed window display and a civic carol service. House prices in the town come in at a tidy £153,000. Featherstone covers an area amounting to just under 18 square kilometres, making this one of Wakefield's largest. Still, with a pretty sizable population, the parish has a population density of 988.4. Right, I've found a map. That means I can show you where I've been and where I've still got to go. So we are here, just near the train station. I'm just about to go and film the train station in a moment. So I started here at the end of Post Office Road, and I've walked along here, down to Pontefract Road, around Preston-Jaglin, across Preston Park, which is this here, back up this road, over here to the crossroads, and then up Station Lane, catching bits and bobs off it as I go. And I'm there now, and my route after the railway station will take me around here and then down a footpath across the railway line. There's a cricket pitch somewhere here, and it'll take me to here, number 4, which is Featherstone Rovers, and that's where I'm going to end the main walk around. Most of the town, some 98%, identify as white British, although the ethnic makeup of Featherstone sees a fairly sizable Asian minority living in this part of West Yorkshire too. It's also worth noting that Featherstone has a very large proportion of working age citizens, much higher than most of its neighbours. Almost 70% of the town is aged between 18 and 65. Amenities wise, we begin with Featherstone Railway Station. This is on the Pontefract line. Operated by Northern, this is 6 miles east of Wakefield Kirkgate Railway Station. The current station was opened by West Yorkshire Metro on the 12th of May 1992, when the line between Wakefield and Pontefract was reopened. A previous station on the same site had been closed in January 1967, when passenger services between Wakefield and Pontefract were withdrawn as a result of the Beeching Acts. During Monday to Saturday, there are hourly train services to Leeds via Wakefield and to Nottingley via Pontefract Monkhill. There are now trains on Sundays too, running 2 hourly between Nottingley and Leeds via Wakefield. There are also bus services in Featherstone operated by Arriva Yorkshire and Ross Travel. As well as the Traveller's Rest, which we saw earlier, the town has a selection of pubs and clubs, some which are no longer in use. These include the Junction, which is boarded up and earmarked to become a convenience store. The White Horse is seemingly no longer a pub now too. The railway, however, certainly is. This is an important pub because not only was it the location of the inquiry into the Featherstone massacre, it was also where Featherstone Rovers were founded. This building is the Featherstone Working Men's Club. Featherstone is undergoing continual change, and as part of this, a new state-of-the-art £2.5 million community centre has been built just off Station Lane, named the Chesney Centre. Featherstone Town Council hold tea dances throughout the year here. The council usually meets here on the second Wednesday of each month. Recreation-wise, the annual swimming gala takes place at Featherstone Sports Complex, where All Saints School, North Featherstone Junior School, St Thomas and Streethouse School all compete in many swimming races, with a presentation of the trophies and medals in the sports hall. Okay, I might need some help from the Featherstone locals here. I'm on the edge of Purston Park, and there's a stone here, and it's only partly legible. This is something park, I assume that's of Featherstone, and there's a date there, but that's completely worn away. 19 something. I wonder what that used to say. Luckily, the stone on the other side is clearer to read. Opened in the 1950s, Purston Park takes up a large area of space and offers a lake and children's play area. There was also previously a bowling green until being changed to a rose garden in 2004. The park was made out of the grounds of what was originally a private residence and country estate, with the stately home formerly acting as the town hall. The building was sold to developers in 2007 and has since been converted into luxury flats. The town has two secondary schools, the Featherstone Academy and St Wilfrid's Catholic High School, which is located in North Featherstone. Primary and infant schools include St Thomas's Junior, Gurnhill Infants, Purston Infants, North Featherstone Junior and Infants, and All Saints Junior and Infants. Now St Thomas's Church, which is built from traditional Yorkshire sandstone. This and the adjacent vicarage were built in the 1870s. Due to a lack of funding, the church has no bell tower, and instead the bell hangs outside on the church's south wall. The original vicarage is now a private residence. The original Featherstone village has a church of its own, All Saints, which we'll get to shortly. A former Methodist chapel on Wakefield Road has been turned into an antique sales room. This is pretty cool. This is called a Christmas memory tree in the grounds of St Thomas's Church. I like that. It's a nice touch. This building is the South Featherstone Gospel Hall. There's also one of these in North Featherstone. St Gerard's Roman Catholic Church was closed in the summer of 2008. I found two surgeries on my walk around, one close to St Thomas's Church, aptly named St Thomas's Surgery, and Station Lane Medical Centre. As of the 1st of April 2017, the Town Council no longer holds the licence to hold a market on a Thursday. The land has subsequently been handed back to Wakefield Council for its transfer to Highways and Transport. Despite that, there are still a range of shops in the town centre and a little supermarket on Gurnhill Lane. Featherstone has no shortage of interesting features, and we start with this. Only 2 fatalities are named on this sculpture, which marks the centenary of the Featherstone massacre. This stands in the main shopping precinct. 2 men were killed and a 3rd man died the following day. There's a large mural depicting the town's heritage, and this can be seen at the main crossroads. This is part of the Featherstone Sculpture and Gardens on the corner of Gurnhill Lane and Wakefield Road, directly opposite Lidl. You might remember the Warhorse from the Huntwick with Fulby and Nostell episode. Even though that was mentioned there, I thought it was fitting to include it once again with a bit more information. It was designed by model makers and artist Cod Stakes and funded by a grant from FCC Communities Foundation. And speaking of war memorials, check out this amazing memorial just to the north of the railway station. It has a plaque on it saying it was unveiled in 2008. This is quite amazing. This is probably the biggest one I've ever seen on the channel. Wow. This is good effort. Good effort, Featherstone. Really very good. Of course, we're in West Yorkshire. This is a rugby heartland, so there's no surprises here that the town's sports scene is dominated by its local rugby league club, Featherstone Rovers. Originally made up of local miners, the club was formed in the Railway Hotel in 1902 and then reformed in 1906. Their stadium was historically known as Post Office Road. It was renamed to the LD Nutrition Stadium in 2017. It's also been previously known as the Big Fella Stadium in 2010 due to a sponsorship deal. So despite all those name changes, it's now called the Millennium Stadium. Of course, not to be confused with the large stadium in Cardiff. There you go, Millennium Stadium here in Featherstone, home of Featherstone Rovers, and that's where our main walk around Featherstone is going to come to a close. With the main walk around Featherstone now complete, we're off for a little drive before we enter Streethouse, one of the other settlements in the town's boundaries. Most of this drive focuses on the area to the west of Purston Jaglin and to the south of Wakefield Road. Enjoy! Also lying within Featherstone's boundaries is Streethouse. This is a semi-rural village to the west of Featherstone and to the southwest of Castleford, situated on a Roman road. It's a former mining village. Streethouse is currently a commuter village serving Wakefield, Normanton, Featherstone, Pontefract and Leeds. The former working men's club has been demolished and new houses have been built on the site. These houses, in fact. It was one typical of mining villages in the area. Streethouse railway station is on the same line as Featherstone. It provides the same regular services to Pontefract and Wakefield with interconnecting services to Leeds and Sheffield. Like Featherstone, Streethouse suffered a period of decline too. In recent years, however, the village has enjoyed a considerable amount of investment from regeneration funds and private investment from housing companies. I don't know why, but these old pit communities always seem very quiet whenever I visit them. But it's strange to think that back in the day when coal mining was a thing out here, these areas would have been thriving with activity. It's quite a marked difference now. The village has a school, although children needing secondary education have to travel to Featherstone or to nearby Crofton or Normanton. Streethouse also has a church, a post office, a shop, a cricket club and a cafe. On the main road through the village between Charleston and Featherstone, you'll encounter the War Memorial, which is for both the war heroes of Streethouse and Snydale. There's also a park with a new children's playground and a separate playing field. Charleston Country Park borders the village too. Now, you know how sometimes I often say, oh, that looks like it could have been a pub in a previous life, and I'm not totally sure because I don't know. Well, here I actually do know. That building there, the white building, that was a pub, and I know it's been converted into flats because I knew someone who used to live in there and I helped him move in. There you go. Time to hop back into the car and head through the tiny hamlet of Old Snydale on our way to Acton next. Historically part of the West Riding of Yorkshire as well, the name Acton means oak tree farmstead. It's formed from the old Scandinavian word eik, meaning oak tree, and the English word tun, meaning farmstead, village or enclosure. The first element of the name indicates the presence of settlers from Scandinavia in Acton, whose dialect influenced the name. The Featherstone family lived at Acton Hall, which has now been demolished. It was Acton Hall Colliery that was the scene of the Featherstone massacre. George Bradley, another former owner of Acton Hall and most of the land in Featherstone, borrowed money in 1873 to start a colliery near the railway station. He sank 2 shafts to the Stanley main seam and called it Featherstone Manor Colliery. In August 1890, Lord Masham bought the Acton Hall estates, which included the colliery, which by this time had been renamed Acton Hall and Featherstone Manor Collieries. Manor was soon to be dropped from the name. In 1890 it was small, with one coal winding shaft and the upcast shaft and a few sidings. There was also a small works to produce coke and town gas. That leaves us with just one more area to go to here, and that is North Featherstone, the original Featherstone settlement. Let's go. At the junction of the B6134 and B6421 and set around All Saints Church is the original Featherstone village. This is North Featherstone and is joined to the town centre by Featherstone Lane. Recorded in the Domesday Survey of 1086, the oldest remaining part of All Saints Church is the 12th century north wall of the nave. A fire ravaged the interior of the church in 1998, destroying the pipe organ and vestries in the south aisle. Redevelopment work, which had already been planned, was amended and brought forward, allowing the church, which has no church hall, to be restored in a manner which provided 2 rooms for community use within the body of the church itself. The rebuilding was completed by August 2000. The rooms within are available for hire and are used on a less regular basis for meetings and other activities of groups from outside the church, for which a small fee is payable. Believe it or not, it's just begun to snow. I said it was cold. There is such a thing as it being too cold to snow, but obviously it's not that cold. And it's just started to snow here in the churchyard at All Saints in North Featherstone. This building is the North Featherstone Gospel Hall we mentioned earlier. For most of its history, North Featherstone was a rural, tiny village with at most several hundred residents. A very unlikely place then in which eventually, after continual growth, a competitive sports team like Featherstone Rovers would develop that would compete successfully with large city-based teams. Now there is one more area of Featherstone that I've not covered, and that's called Whitwood. But really, if you look at it on the map, even though the boundaries cover it, it's more sort of geared towards Castleford. And on the map it seems to be, generally speaking, all residential. So I'm not going to go to Whitwood. But if there is anything in Whitwood that you guys would like me to know about, put it right down there in the comments. Time for a picture bit. Here it comes right now. So this snow is not settling, thankfully, so it means I can go to my last one in Wakefield now and do it without the fear of getting stuck. I don't think I'm going to get stuck in it anyway because it's a big town, one of Wakefield's largest, and it'll be the last one in the Wakefield district. This is the 29th one, and so far Wakefield has been full of things that I've enjoyed, and I think the last one will probably round it all off in a very, very nice way. I'm about to go there right now. This though has been the parish of Featherstone, including North Featherstone and Acton and Snydale and Streethouse and lots of other little things too. And I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.